Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Today we will see Angular 12 CRUD example with Web API. So in the session we will learn Angular 12 CRUD example with Web API as well as way to implement our cascading drop-down searching using Angular 12. So in the session we'll use the SQL Server database for the attractive and the responsive user interface for our web application. We'll use the Angular material theme. So yes, I'm going to start with the things. Let's start with the requirements. Let's understand what are all the requirements we have here. The requirement is to create a simple CRUD operation using Angular 12 with Web API, explain how to update the latest version of Angular, and use the Angular material theme, implement cascading dropdown using Angular 12. The implementation. So how we can just go ahead and implement. In the session, we will see how we can create a CRUD operation to store the basic details of employees. So let's start with the database and create a new database and table using SQL Server. Just go ahead and open your SQL Server. Connect to local host. So here authentication is Windows authentication. Already I've set up the SQL Server. So if you really want to understand how we can set up the local server, I'll just make a video on that, share it across with you. So as of now, we'll just go ahead and connect to the local host. We should be connected to our database. Yes. So go ahead and create a new database. Here I have created a new database called as training database. How we can create a database? You can right click on it, just click new database. Here you can provide the database name and you can just click on OK. This should create a new database for us. In my case, I have given training database. So I'll just go and cancel this. So new database has been created already, and I have created four tables here, different tables which stores the information of employee as well as store the information of the country, state, city for your cascading dropdowns. So just have a look into this. This is my table employee master. I'll just show you the design of it. So how we can create a tables? You can use the create table command to create your database, and sorry, you can create your tables. So in this case, my table name is table employee master. So you could, as you look at here, you can see a number of columns which you have defined already. So the first one is employee ID, which is a primary key, and also we don't have first name, last name, date of birth, which is a data type of date time, email ID, gender, country ID, state ID, city ID, address, pin code. So please go ahead and create a table with all these fields. So once you're done with that, just go ahead and design your city table. I will just show you that how does the city table looks like. Yes, as you could see, we have a city ID is a primary key, and city name, state ID, and country ID. And after that, just go ahead and define your uh, state state table. So I'm just going to show you how that state table looks like. Okay, so state table it has state ID, state name, country ID, whereas the state ID is a primary key. And please go ahead and create another table, city table. So city table which has been already created, the country table which has been already created, and let me check out city master stage. Just have a look at the definition of this. So here we have a country table which has a country ID, the country name. So please go ahead and define all these tables in your database, and we can just proceed after that. So just go ahead and insert few details in the customer master table, such as say go ahead and insert few values like India and United States. I'll just query these things and show you that. Already I have inserted some values into these tables. Yeah, just look at this. Just going to select from review dot city master. So I have already inserted few records here. So you could see the records which I have inserted. Please go ahead and insert the same thing in your table as well. So once you're done with the city master, I'm just going to call all other tables. Just go and call country master. Let's see what data we have for country master. Yeah, I do have India and United States. Just go ahead and select the state master where it stores the information of your state. Yes. So please go ahead and insert the data which I showed you just now. So please be ready with the database. This is about data creation. So in the next step, which is step 2, now we have to create a web API to perform CRUD operations, create, replace, update, and delete operations for employees. To create a web API, so you just have to open Visual Studio 2019 and go to File, New Project, and select the web application. I'll just show you how we can do that. So open Visual Studio 2019, just click on create a new project. So in the create new project, you will get a number of templates, but we are going to just select ASP.NET Web Application.NET Framework and just go and select this. I'll just go and click on next. So here you can provide the name of your web API. So I would just say employee operations. So that is nothing but CRUD operations. Then just go ahead and click on create, and the framework which I'm going to select here is 4.7.2, and also you could change the path where exactly you want to store this project. So in this case, I'm just storing at the default location, which is at like users, PC, source, and repos. You can always go ahead and select whatever the path you want to be stored. You can just select the drive which you want to store your raw application, and I'll just say go ahead and create. So yes, I don't have a project already with this name, so I'll just call it as test. Just go ahead and create. Yeah, see here you're going to get the number of templates, like whether you want to go ahead and create a empty application or you want to go ahead and create a web forms is nothing but your ASP.NET application. And if you want to go ahead and create you can just go ahead and create a MVC application and a single page application. But in my case, I'm just going to create a web API, because we're just going to create a RESTful services. So I'm just going to just click on create. So this should create a new application for us. So as you could see, we have a new application which has been created. Employee operations web API application has been created. So as we know, the operation and the application always start from global.asx page. If you open global.asx page, you just have a up underscore start method. Yes, where it has area registration, it registers all your areas, and global configuration.configure, where it configures all your related web API config. Whatever you mentioned inside that. So it registers all those things inside the global configuration. And we do have multiple filters in MVC. So if you are using any filters, you can just go ahead and configure it inside the global filters.filters file. So also we have a route config file, so which is responsible for deciding which route, how you decide your route and everything. So this is also the another thing which get executed. And bundle config. Bundle config is something like which holds all your CSS files and JavaScript files which is required to run your application. So I'll just go to the files one by one. You could see app underscore start folder. I just open bundle.config. So you could see the JavaScript files which is being loaded, bootstrap, all the files which is required for you to launch the application. You could see CSS file, JavaScript files, and these are some default files which is required to launch your web application. And you could see here filter.config. So if you want to just add a new filter, and if you want to just something over here, you can always create your custom filters, and this can just register here. And you can see route config.cs. So here where we define our route, how our default route should be. So when I launch an application, how it should be. So as you could see here, this is something like take care of the UI part, where this mainly deals with the pages. So something like say controller /action/id, that means like always, example, if you are running on localhost 8080, what you have to do, example, I have a values controller, just have to call the values controller and say that if I have index action method inside of that, we'll just throw the slash and just like enter that. You should load the page whatever you're looking for. And this is something like road config.cs, but our main concern is so web API config.cl. Just have a look at this, what it does. So here, actually, here I'm enabling CORS because I just want to access this web application, web APIs across all like different platforms. So I'm just going and enabling the CORS here, and you could see here default API. So API slash controller slash IT. That means like when you're trying to call your API, you should always mention a localhost slash API and followed by the controller name and followed by the ID. So here the next step is what we do. We'll just go ahead and create a new folder. So just go ahead and create a folder, data operations. So how do you create a folder? You can always right click on this operation. Just go to add. Just go to add. And here you get an option to create a folder. Just click on new folder and call that folder as data operations folder. So once you have a data operations folder, so what do? We'll just create a like entity framework. Okay. So what we do for that? So it generates a .tdmx file for us. What I do, just right click on this, add. You can just always select a new item. Yep. So it should load the template for us. So what you have to do, just have to go ahead and select the data and select the AD.NET entity data model, and you can name yourself like the model as Angular CRUD operations. Yeah, you can just give the whatever the name model name you want to just give it. Just click on add. We should take you to the window where you have to select like what model you should select. So here there are 4 different types of models which is there for us. The first one is EF designer from database. See here actually we have decided the database, we have designed the tables. So we are going to select the EF designer from database, and there are some other ways where you can just go ahead and create your entity framework. So empty EF design model, what it does, it creates an empty model in the EF designer as a starting point for visually designing your model. So later you can generate a database from your model. The classes your application will interact with the generated from the model. So also we do have empty code first code model. That means like creates an empty code first model as a starting point for designing your model using code. So later you can generate a database from your model. The last one is code first from database. Creates a code first model based on the existing database. You can choose the database connection settings on the model and database objects to include the model. So we are going to just select the EF designer from database. Just go on and select next. Here, if your connection string is already not configured, what you have to do, just have to click on new connection. Just go ahead and click on the new connection. So once you clicked on it, you should see a server name where you have to provide the server name. In my case, the server name is localhost. I will just say a localhost here, and I'll just click on refresh. So what it does, it retrieves the list of servers and all the other related information for you. So as of now, I'm just going to use the localhost, and it remains the Windows authentication. And once this gets completed, and should load the database which I want. So as you could see here, we should load the number of database for us. So it has loaded, and I'm going to select a training database. And in your case, what are the database name which are given, it should load for you, and go ahead and test the connection, and the test connection is succeeded. So once you're done with it, click on OK. Click on OK, then this should generate a connection string, and what it says, okay, this connection string should be saved in the web.config file. So once you're done with these steps, so what we can do, we can just go ahead and click next. So this is going to be your training database entities. So the connection string will save as our training database entities. So just click on next, where it will just ask you what are all the tables you want to just go ahead and load it here. So it's trying to retrieve database objects. So here, as you could see, a tables which is loaded for us. As you could see, we are already what are the tables which we created, we got everything over here. So once you just select all those tables and click on finish. Once you're done with that, and it should create a new EDMX file for you, and yes, should be ready to do database operations. So this is the one which will just help you to just do the database access and database operations like create, update, delete, or whatever the like CRUD operations you just want to do that. So this one we are done. So just select a database model and just complete it. Just click on finish. See here, as you could see, here I've just given the name as employee operations here. So just change the name of the EDMX file. You can just open that EDMX file here. What are the EDMX file? What are the name which you gave it, right? It should have been generated a new file for you, and your EDMX file should look exactly like this. Like whatever we created database, right? Like tables, everything will get loaded here. So you can see here, right? All those things. So this is your EDMX, and if you just open the EDMX, it has its context.tt, context.css files. If you just open that, it calls a base constructor which passes the training name, training database entities as a context for you. And there are some, you could see tables, whatever we created, it has a db set, db set, db set. So all these things called as, okay, this database has 4 tables and which is selected in a creation of a EDMX file. So that is context.cs. So designer.cs doesn't have anything. So where edmx.diagram, so whatever you could see, right? So you could see the 4 tables which is loaded when I clicked on this. So that's all this information which is defined inside this edmx.diagram. So you could see operations.tt file where it has some default code which has been written while generating itself. And you could see properties, a city master class which has been created for us, and it's a partial class. And you could see number of property, whatever we defined, right? Exactly the same columns it has been returning for us now. So site master is there, table employee masters are there. So we're pretty much okay with this. So we're almost okay with the things. So we're ready with the entity framework ADMX file, and we're ready with the entities, and we're ready with the classes which is required for to do the database operations. So once you're done that, what we have to do, just have to go ahead and create the controllers and which access your data. So I'm going to explain you that. So what you could do, you can just create a controller. So already I have created the controller, Angular web app controller. I'm just going to explain that later. But by default, what you could do, you can just create some of the controllers. I'll just ask you how you can just do that. Just go and click on controller. Here it asks you what you want to do. So I'm just going to go to web API. I will say that, okay, just go ahead and create the actions. So what are all the action we can expect here? So always you can expect create, like create, read, update, delete. So what I do, okay, we do have a entity framework. So by using this entity framework, just go ahead and create the actions. So select this template and click on add. So the model class. So what you want to do here? So I set that an example here. I want to create a controller for the customers. So I'm just going to call it as example. So what are the tables which we created? So city. So I'm just going to call city master, the model class, and just say the context class, which is for me is training database entities. What I will go to do, this is my controller name, city masters controller. I'm just going to click on add. Please go on and click on add, and scaffolding will be running behind the scenes. And you could see it's trying to install the NuGet packages and everything which is required for us to run the entity framework. So let this get finished. So as you could see here, a new controller which has been created here. It's a city masters controller. Let's go ahead and check it. What are the default methods which is generated for us? Okay, just like I will try to explain one by one. So the controller name is city masters, and what is the training database entities? So that's the context for us. So you could see here it has created get city masters where it get all the details of your cities, and we do have a get city master by ID, and we have put method, and we have post method. See what all the HTTP request which you require it. So it has already by default it is created. So this is the way you can just use a default template and you can create your API calls. So you're pretty much done with the creation of a city masters controller. If you guys want to create for different tables, what like around like 3 masters tables which you have, you can always just go ahead and do that. So as of now, I just showed you how we can just create it for a city. But as of now, I'm just going, my aim is to just make some other changes. So similar way, just go ahead and create a web API controller, Angular web app controller. So in this case, what you do now, just right click on this, click on, select on the controller. But here, I don't want to select any like web API to control with actions using entity framework. I want to just go ahead and create the empty one. Just go ahead and select the empty. Yes, just go and click on add. So once you added it, it should have a controller. As you could see here, I have already created number of methods which is required for us to complete our operation. So the thing is like, as you can see here, I have just defined the root prefix, and where we're trying to call this a particular controller, we should always specify API/employee, and we have also defined the routing at the method as well. You can just look at that index get employees method. So here also I define the route. So here I'm saying HTTP word get. So hope everyone is aware of HTTP get, post, put, and if you're not aware, please go to the basic of HTTP words, and it should give you the basic details of it. And if you don't understand how we can just provide the routing and all here, I just already made your attribute routing and the routing concepts in my previous videos. Please go and watch that so that you get a better idea on route, how we can define the routes and everything. So as you could see here, I'll just go one by one. So I just say get employee. So what I'm trying to do here, I'm just saying to say that okay, I'm calling the object entity as nothing but a training database entities, which is my context. So by using this, I'm trying to get the table employee masters, and I'm joining with the table country. So on the like again with the country masters on the basis of country ID, and also I'm joining with the state by on the basis of the state ID, and also I'm joining with city on the basis of city ID. So you could see here. So end of the day, what happens? It provides all the takes of joins everything, and whatever the data it returns, it's going to return in the list. So at the end, what I'm saying, I'm just going to return the list, whatever the things which I created here. So this is the method which get the employees, and the one more method is HTTP get employee detail by ID. It's where we pass the employee ID and we'll get the details of it. So what is happening here? And we create an object for table employee master, and what we do at object.att table employee dot master dot find. So this is a method which is available for us to find out the particular employee by ID. So as you could see here, if it is able to find out the record which you're trying for, then it returns okay, data is there. You can see at the line number 73, the data has been returned. And if there is no data, example, if the no employees, whatever the employee ID we passed it, and if we didn't find it, we'll just say not found. And you can just come back to the next one. So we'll understand is the post method, which is required to just get the data master like an employee data and save it in the database. So here what we're doing, okay, we're checking the request is a bad request or is a valid request or not. That means like the model, whatever the model you're passing, right, should be exactly proper data. And if you're not sending any proper data, it says okay, it's invalid data, and it's going to return as bad request. So as you could see here, I'm just saying okay, here whatever the daytime which I'm receiving here, I'm just converting to the days and everything. If it's having a value, I'll just add the days, and just like if it is not, then we'll put the null and send it back to the date birth. So once you're done with that, right, so we'll say table employee masters dot add dot data. So this is going to save a new record. So once I call this save changes, whatever things has been received, it right, object entity, it's going to save table employees masters. So in this case, I just add a new entry into the table employee masters, and it's going to save the changes in the database. And once that is done, it's just going to say return okay data. Okay, whatever the data it has been served, it's going to return that. So the next method is HTTP put. As you could see here, this is the one which will be used to update employee details. As you could see here, we are receiving the employee, and we'll try to find out employee by ID, and we'll receive this object. We'll just update all the things with the new values, and we'll say save changes again. So what happens? Just go and update the record. And country, So it's going to get the countries. So how we are doing object entity dot country masters, it's going to give the country, and here country master dot list, it's going to give the country data, and test state data. This is the one is going to give the state data. So how do we retrieve the state data? The state data by country ID, right? So we'll pass the country ID and we'll get the state data. And how do we get the city? We just pass the state ID and get the state city data. And if you want to go ahead and delete the records, this is the piece of code it's going to read your records. And if you want delete data, the complete users, so this is the code which is going to just take it out everything and just go and delete everything from your database. This is about the kind of operation which we created, and yes, we are done, pretty much done with the API calls. So let us go and run this, and that application like API should be up and running for you to perform the next operations. So directly we'll jump to the Angular and we'll see what we can do there. We'll just create a UI I'll have first Angular application. Before that, we'll see what all the basic things which is required for us to run Angular application. We'll just go ahead and see in the Visual Studio Code. Please go ahead and install Visual Studio Code, and it gives you a better things which you can do with respect to Angular. So this API should be up and running. So as you could see here, I'm just trying to get my country record here. So my API is running. As you could see, I'm running my API. Your API should be running as well. So as you could see, I'm receiving the country details such as I have country 1 and the country name is India, and I have country 2 called as United States. So yes, my API is working as expected. So the next thing is we're just going to open our Visual Studio Code and we'll start creating a Angular application. So I'm just going to show you how we can do that. And yes, we'll open Visual Studio Code. Please go ahead and open the Visual Studio Code. So as you can see, we have created all the required APIs. Our API creation part is done now. So we have to focus on the Angular part. It's like installation of Angular, create a project of Angular 12, consume API using Angular 12, commands for build and run the Angular application, etc. So now first we have to install Angular CLI into our system. So if you already install Angular CLI into a system, then you can skip the whatever the step I'm telling right now. But if you're not installed it, you just have to go ahead and install Angular CLI. So what you have to do, just have to open the command prompt, or open this terminal. Just just select the command prompt here. So just going to select command prompt. So here, if you are not installed it, so how we can just install the npm install. So before doing this, please, I would suggest everyone to just go ahead and install the Node.js, the latest version of the Node.js, which is required for it to run the application. So just say npm install -g @angular /CLI. So I have already installed this. So that's the reason I'm not going to run this command. So the people are not installed. So before doing this, please go ahead and install Node.js first. Once your Node.js installed successfully, please run this command to install the Angular CLI. So if you are running the older version of Angular, so you want to update your Angular application to the latest version of Angular, you can use the following command. So how we can just do that? So you can say ng space update space @Angular core Angular /core @Angular /CLI -force. Just go on and run this command and should update with the latest version of it. And now have to create a new Angular project. So how we can just create a new Angular project? So what is the command to do that? So for creating a new Angular project, what you have to do, ng new, follow the application name. So here I will say Angular CRUD. Just call it as Angular CRUD. Just enter, and this should create a new Angular application for you. And I already created an Angular CRUD application, so I'm just going to show one by one. So once your new Angular CRUD, once you have done that, so you just have to go to the folder which you already created. How we can do that? You can just say cd and name of your Angular. So the name of your Angular project, you can just provide the name of it, or which whatever the Angular name which you have given. So in this case, the name is cd space Angular CRUD. So if you enter that, it will take to the folder. So once you've done that, so you just have to just create a component. So once you created a Angular application, it looks like this exactly, as you could see here. This is like once you're done the creation of Angular application, this looks like this. So we don't have a package.json where it loads, like it has all the information, the package information which is required for you to run the application. So as you could see here, I have just like Angular slash animation, Angular slash cdk, Angular slash common, all the things which is required for me to run the Angular application. So everything is defined into the package.json. And here the application, as you could see here, so you could see main.ts. Yes, just have a look into this. And this is the thing where it loads your app module. Okay, so main.ts file is the one which runs first, and from here it goes on. So what happens, as you could see here, you try to call the app module. You can see here bootstrap module. So the starting point of your Angular application, you could see app module. So if you just go inside a app folder, an app model is already created here. So you could see app module.cs. So if you just, because see, this is the file which is like first which hits the thing, hits the floor. You can see that. So you can just open the app component.html. You could see that, like it's calling the app-employee. So app-employee is nothing but this is app component. Let's go to app component. So here, as you can see here, as I told you, from main.ts2 it comes to the app component. You can just see here app root will be defined inside the index.html. Yes, it has been defined inside that. So let's say that, like app.config.cs file which loads first. So yeah, this is the thing. And once that is done, the app.component.html, so what we're saying, okay, here in this component file you just have to go ahead and add a load a new component. So how we can create a employee component here? For creating a component, so please go ahead and create a new component and services. So I want to have one component here. I'll just say ng space d space c. I'll just call it as employee. So here it generates a component and creates a new component employee for you. So already I have created a component here. As you could see inside of this is the once you execute this command, it's going to create a folder like this. See, as you could see, employee.component css. So all your css changes will be done inside of that, and it does have a employee component.html, and also it has spec.ts. If you want to write any test cases or something like that, you can just go and do that. So employee.component.cs, yes, which is whatever is required for us, it has created for us. So once you are done with creation of a component, so just have to go ahead and create a service. So how we can generate a service? So instead of CSAS, just call this service as employee services, where it calls all your API calls and everything. Okay. So once you have completed with respect to the service and the components, I'll just explain you how services and the components will look like. And also in meanwhile, I'll just go ahead and create a class which I want to just store the employee information and everything. And employee, yeah, just go ahead and create a class. So first step is, first go ahead and create an employee component. So create a service, then go create a class. So I'll just go one by one. So once you created the component, it should look like this. You should have all the component.ts and html spec.cs and .css. So once you created a service, you should load employee.service files. So by default you will not have all these codes, but you should have some of the like injectable or small like the initial things which is required for you to run your services. So I'm just going to explain you what exactly I've done in these files. So as like this is the class what we created. So here in this class you could see here, right, what all the properties which you defined in, like in the APIs. So same properties I'm defining it here. So you could see here I'm creating one class, country, state, city, and you could see all the properties: city ID, city name, state ID, country ID. So everything I'm just like defining inside of this employee.cs. So let us understand one by one so that you guys will be ready to just like try to do the same thing, and don't worry about the code part. So if you guys really need to practice and if you want the code, please provide your details in the comment section of the video. I'm just going to send them personally so that you guys can take up this code and try to practice with. I'm just going to send you database script file and web API code as well as the Angular code. Please, if you guys need anything like that, please do let me know. So as of now, try to understand code, like what exactly we're done here. So once you're done with, done with that, so the URL, the URL of the things, everything will be designed inside the service.cs. So this is the one, as you can see here, as you can see here, we have a class called employee service class. So what it does, so this is the URL, right? This is the URL of our API. So this is the URL of our API. So by using this API, what do you do? We just call the API calls, and we just use observable to get the data. So I'll just, like, as you could see here, we have multiple operations which are done. So I'm just going to create, like I have created a one by one methods here. The first one, the constructor, there's a dependency injection on HTTP client. So that's the reason I just created this. You could see a method get all employee. That's a type of employee. It's an observable collection, and return this HTTP get employee and the URL and slash all employee details. So when I say URL, the HTTP localhost 44397 slash API slash employee slash all employee details. So this call is going to give me the all employee records. Okay, and this is the one. It's going to give me the record for all get employee by ID. The next one is, this is the one where we have post method, where we will be passing the employee here. As you could see, what we do here, we just say calling the post method and calling the URL, and you're passing the object, and just like what are the option you're passing through the content header. You're saying, okay, application.json. We want to pass this value as JSON, so just like it's going to hit that particular API call inside employee details which we created in API. So we saw that already. So you could see your update for this is the one which is will just like this code will help us to just go and update the details of employee, and this one is going to delete the records. You could see here where this passes the employee ID along with the header types. Content type is something application.json. So this is something. Get country, it's going to give the country details. Get state, it's going to give the state details. State is by ID, country ID, and get the city by the state ID. So here also, what are the things which are defined in the API, the same methods I have defined inside the employee service.cs file. So once we are done with this, so the next thing is, so this piece of code is going to return us the whatever data which we wanted. So first step, just go ahead and design your employee.ts class. So where you define your export class and all the properties you could see here, country, state, city, all the things. Then go to your service, just start calling the API calls and just return that. So we are pretty much done with the API calls, and we're pretty much done with the class creation and everything. Now we have to just go ahead and design our employee module. So inside the employee module, what I could see here, go to the component.cs. So guys, here we just have to make a lot of things because we're just going to use the materials. Okay, so I'm just going to do one by one. So before doing that, like I should showed you here in the Visual Studio Code, we just have to import the course, where you have to enable the course. So because it's going to allow you to access anywhere, like an outside of your application, everything. So actually, when you're trying to consume a web API from any other port or domain, Angular will block the particular URL so that we can solve this issue by using the course. To resolve this issue, what you have to do, as I told you, you have to go to web API project, you can go to NuGet package manager, and you just have to download the course first. Then what you have to do later, you have to go to Solution Explorer, and inside the app_start folder, web API, the config.cs, where you just have to import the system.web.spp.course. This piece I'm talking about in the web API side, ASP.NET Web API. So inside your config file, config.cs file, where you just have to write it config.enable course. So I think if you go back a little back, and you could see the piece of code which I already written there. So once you guys are done that, so the next step is we have to install the Angular material theme, so that open package, like what you have to do here, you just have to provide the comments where it saves all your materials and related things. So the first thing is, if you are, what you have to do, you just have to say just open this command prompt and just say npm install and -- save and just say Angular slash material, and at the rate could just to get few more things, Angular slash CDK, and we need to get the animations also at the rate Angular slash animations. Just go ahead and get this, and you should save all these details inside of your. Once you execute this, this should get stored inside of your package.json file. So as you could see here, already I ran this command. That's the reason you could see Angular animation this has been included here, and Angular CDK has been included here, and also Angular material has been included here. So everything you could see. Just open the new node underscore modules. You could see everything here. So what all things are defined, right? So you could see there are so many dependencies which is required for us to run the Angular application. All the things, everything will be defined inside the node underscore module. Yeah, just like this all some of the basics we just have to understand before coming to the CRUD operations. So if you have any questions or queries, please do let me know in the comment section. So that, yeah. So next thing is we can just go to app module.cs. What you can do, go to app.module.cs, where you have to just import all the things, whatever you can see on the screen, right? You just have to go ahead and import all the things like Angular core, Angular forms, and materials. You could see so many things which are importing here: import card, button, data pickup, menu, core, all these things. Just go ahead and import whatever things you can see. You just have to import everything. So once you have imported everything, what you have to do, there is something called imports in the module, where, see, I'll give an example. If you have created any new component or something, you just come and initialize over here, and the modules, what are the modules you just like trying to import, all these things you just have to come and define it inside here. So as you could see here in the imports, just like registering all the things which I just done that. So as you could see, the bootstrap is app component because that is the starting part of my application. So once you guys are pretty much okay with the this part, so now what you have to do, you just have to go to style.css. Just go to style.css, where you have to import this. We'll just say at the rate import, and just at the rate Angular slash material slash pre-built hyphen themes slash deep purple hyphen amber dot css. Just put this and save this file. Just if you've done that, let's go on and design the employee component.html file. So the HTML component, which are the file which I already designed it, I'll just show you one by one. Where we have a form group. This is the form which I'm starting here. The mat card in content, like which I'm using to just design the things. So as you could see here, I have a form group, employee form, and I have a ng submit. For the submit of it, what is going to see, you could see here all the fields we have defined, right? So you could see first time I have defined here ngif, like again, if you just not completely sure out the ngif, please go back to my previous videos and watch what is how we can just go ahead and use ngif, ngfor, and all those things. See, in this case, what happens? It goes and check it for this first name and try to get that. So if it is there, it's just going to execute this piece of things. Okay, you can see here. You can always, that's what you just have to be very very good in basics before coming to the correct. And once you could see here, we designed for last name. Yep, that's pretty much good. This is something like when you're entering, right? So we're throwing some values. So when you say that like the last name is mandatory, if it is not, like you're not provided any value, it returns an error saying that okay, just have to provide the details of it. So validation, you could see that, and also you could see the email ID which we have generated here. So you could see here it's like telling like okay, the gender, please enter the gender. What we're doing here, we're just using the radio button, and you could see, yep, again we just, there's a validation, you just have to go and select that and just come down. So we're also using country. On selection change, we're calling fill statement dot event, like there's an event, we're just calling out and just filling out the country, and just have to just say okay, because since it's a country, right? So as I told you, this is something like cascading drop down, so where you just go and get all the details in the from the country. So in the all country, what do you have? If you just if I just start opening the component.ts, so you'll understand what exactly the all country. So if you just look at here, so we defined the number of interfaces because we wanted to perform certain operations. So we defined all the interfaces which is here. So as you could see here, if you look at the uploaded component, where I have defined all the things which is required for me, starting from the all employees, data source. I'm just using mat data table, data source for population of this. And also you could see all countries, it's an observable, all cities, country ID, state ID, everything, what was required for us, I just defined everything here. So what happens right after that? So when I say constructor on the page load, what happens? It try to load the data source, and what, like where do you get this? Get all employees. Let me go back to this method. You could see go to implementation. It should take me to the service file. As you could see here, right? Get all employees. This is the one which is being called from your employee.component CSS. So for that, you could see here we are imported that also, right? So we just imported employee service. You could see here, right? That's line number 4. Just for an example, if we created another service, if you want to consume here, the first thing you just have to go ahead and import it here. And right after the import is done, so you could see here what you're trying to do, achieve it here. It's just trying to get the data on the constructor. And also the thing is like you just have to go and make sure that you are, because just have to register the constructor dependency injection, right? Where we're creating a dependency injection for this particular component.cs, so we must have employee service to proceed further. Otherwise, we can't move even a single bit of line. So once you've done that, the constructor on the ng on it, so what you could do, you can always check for the validation. So because like it sets some of the initial conditions which we followed to proceed further with your application. So as you could see, ng on it method, which does the validation for all your fields. It says almost like all the fields which is required for us. So pretty much clear. So and we can go to the next one. The other method which we have here is all selected, where it returns okay whether the particular value selected or not. So it returns a database, no database or that. So the master toggle, what it does, it select all rows if they are not selected, otherwise the clear selection. And the check label, we have one more method which we define inside here. So what happens, it checks the labels. So what happens actually, if the selection label is selected or deselected, so based on that it returns the row ID. And the next method, example, if you want to delete the data in HTML, I have a method like a calling method which calls this delete data, and it's going to delete the record completely successfully. And the next step is the filters. If you want to apply the filters, you can just go ahead and apply the filters and load all the employees. You could see we're calling the get all employee details and just like returning back to the data source, and that's load all employees. On form submit example, it's going to create an employee, because this is what we are doing right in HTML page. We just have go back and look at this. We're just calling the form submit. On form submit, yes, we have a form submit here. So what it does, it retrieves all the employee details object, and it's going to call the create employees. So what do you have inside the create employee? Yes, it takes all the things and it says okay, just code it, call the API which saves all the data and everything. Okay, you can see here. So it's calling the create employee. Go to definition of it. Yes, to create employee. So where it takes the object, employee object, and it calls the API, HTTP 44347/API/employee, and here inside employee details, and what we have to pass here employee. So if you're like fine, then you can just see we do have an update. We do have an update. For an example, whatever the form you're submitting, but like it will have, we have displayed a variable to check it whether we have to update or delete. So based on that, it performs the operation. So if it is not update, it's going to be create. If it is not create, it's going to be update. So this is the variable employee update variable, which is going to create an update. And while deleting your records, it just says okay, we want to delete, go and delete the record, where we call our service, we pass the ID of it. You can just say go to definition. See, as you could see here, it calls this, and will be passing the ID. It's nothing but in the form of string. It's going to call the delete employee details, which is our API call, and that is done. And Yep, pretty much fine with this. And you can fill out the DLLs and everything. And city, if you like, you can just get the city and you can always set the value to the state ID, where the state ID will be used to fill out your cascading values and everything. Reset form and save successful message. This is a message which you're trying to print it and everything. So this is all about the employed component CSS. Meanwhile, I just show you some of the piece of the code inside this employed component.cs HTML page. So if it's just like as I told an ng form, I'll just go one by one controller, and so look at that. We have employee email ID and we have a gender selection, which you can go ahead and make the gender selection. And yes, you can just come down and you can fill out the country. Yes, it's saying that okay, just go ahead and this as I told you, it's a drop down. It's supposed to be drop down. We're calling the fill state DLL. Let me just go to fill.dll. I'll just show you what exactly it does. So as the name suggests, what it does, it's based on the select type, country ID. So what are the country ID you pass it from here, right? So based on that, as you can see here, country just going to filter out the states. Okay. So what happens? It loops to the country and gets the ID and it's going to give the country name and everything. You could see here the states, the same thing here. Fill out the city DLL. So it's going to fill out the city DLL. So what are the country you're going to example? If you selected India, you should fill out all your kind of state. And if you're going to select state, and you should fill out the number of cities which is present in the state. That's what we are doing here on selection stage. Just calling the city DLS, all these methods, everything, and just like filling out all those things. And what we do here, once you're done with that, we just call the city. City is going to just like populate everything, and it's going to get the city and everything, and it's going to bind it to your dropdown. So I'll just show you the output so that you guys will get better idea on this. So this is normal enter address, text box, pin code, a text box, a string again. So yes, the data is, if it is saved successfully, means it says okay, the data is successfully saved, and you can just come down to check out some more things. Okay, so what the checkbox column? So as I told you, right? So there is something like checkbox. You just have to just go through the check event, change event. There are multiple events. So based on that, we trigger the event and perform the record operation for us. So this is about the complete code of the HTML. If you take it, just as I told you, okay, just let me know. I'll just provide you this piece of code and everything. And also, I would like to thank the source like codingvilla.com. So these guys are providing very nice examples where you can just go ahead and practice those things. The reason why I picked up, I just like sort of explaining this is a better example so that everybody will get this. So yeah, please do let me know. And this is about the coding part for Angular application. So yes, and pretty much done with this. I think it's a time for me to just go and show you the output of it. We just start how we can run your Angular application. You could just say ngserve, and then the application should be up and running. So once you click on ngserve, so what you have to do, just have to do wait the ngserve to get completed. And if you just go ahead and type localhost 4200, yes, see my application up and running now. So what we do, we just start typing 9 one by one. So yeah, you could see the names, and yes, I'm just going to take the date of it. Yes, yep, selected, email ID of it. Yes, I'm just going to provide their information as well. Whatever the things, whatever they entered, I'm going to do the same thing, because I would like to be very thankful to these guys. Such a great example for us, people who are trying to start the understanding the basics of Angular. It is very important for us. Yes, same thing. We already provided. If you guys want to just go ahead and check the code, as I told you, codingvilla.com. You can just go ahead and check that code. And yeah, you could see here a new record has been created for me. Yes, so you could see the message also just displayed over there. I would say edit. Yes, I can just type something here. So I'm just going to change the Surat address or something else to some other city. Yeah, just say submit. Yes, the things all got updated. Yes, now it should be able to delete that. So yes, please, yeah, just go ahead and delete it. So I'll just show you that one more again. So yeah, just give me one more. So as you could see here, so this is something like where we are going to enter our first name, and yes, the first name, the last name, and we'll pick out the date of birth. We'll pick out the date of birth and email ID. Yeah, as I told you that we guys will be providing the same details of that. So you can select the country and you can select the state. Yeah, you could select the, see, as you can see here, at the moment you selected Gujarat, it's selected like other cities, like what are the filter cities should be done. Yeah, just go ahead and print the print out. Just click on submit. So yes, it is submit box is enabled for us. Yes, click on submit. Yeah, a new record has been created here. So just we can just start editing it. Click on edit and just type, change the address to something else. Yes, we have done that. So I'll just try to go in and delete it. And such a beautiful example for the beginners, and really should be thankful to the original source codingvilla.com. And thank you for watching. Like any queries or any questions you guys want to ask, please do let us know in the comment section. Please let us know if you guys like looking for the source code and everything. Provide your details and everything. I'll just like yeah. Meanwhile, I'll try to upload this code into the a GitHub or somewhere, so you guys can start using it. And also we do have we do provided contact details where we support for multiple people with respect to the jobs and training. We do provide multiple level of trainings. Please guys, anything if you feel like if you can pass it to someone else. So if someone is looking for training and everything, please do subscribe to our channel. So where we provide a free training like once in a week or twice in a week. So yep, please stay tuned and thank you for watching. Bye bye. And again, I'm just like trying to create one more thing. So just showing you again before I leave you. Just try to do the same thing, guys. Like you should be able to save this data. Yes. Yep. I hope this ends your query. Thank you so much for watching the video, and also I would like to provide few more information here. This is something like before we come to the CRUD operation, so just have to be very strong in the basic concept like how we can, what is the use of the ng, ng for, and designing your HTML, HTML contents and all those things. Please be thorough with that so that because when you guys come here, you should be in a position to start understanding. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, we'll keep on coming with the new things. Thank you so much. Bye.